name, how your day was, and maybe any form of sex education that you got as a child. Yes, Dorcas? Dorcas,
Okay.
I see your hand is up.
Yes, my hand is up. I
Okay.
wanted to kickstart the conversation.
Yes.
I didn't know that
Okay,
YouTube is
okay.
that sensitive.
Okay, now we are live.
Okay, maybe
We
Karugu,
can
you
just
can
proceed.
reintroduce. Karugu, you can reintroduce the topic. And
Okay.
Then
Okay, Sasa. So, good evening to everyone. My name is Karogo Kyugo. I have been part of this group for a while now, and I've always loved the conversations, the very thoughtful, interesting, and very logical and rational conversations that members of this space engage in. I am a therapist. I am a chess coach. I do meditation. I'm a meditation coach as well. And I'm very glad to be part of this conversation titled Sex Education, which is honestly a very paramount discussion in today's society. In a society where there are many different differing opinions on how we should go about this, and like whose responsibility should it be to teach this to children and even to adults, because right now we are living in a society where a good number of adults are confused, others misinformed, others miseducated about what entails this very basic fundamental point of life, because we are all here living today because some people had sex. That is why we are here. Sex is very key to even our evolution as a species, even to the whole evolution of humanity and so on and so forth. So it's a very key issue that we take for granted, and for taking it for granted we find ourselves suffering as a result of it. And there are many ways to suffer, that you can suffer from having maybe little education or little knowledge about what sex is, and all that. And when you look at previous maybe African communities, because I assume we are all African here, there used to be elaborate, sexual education disciplines within many communities. I've studied a number of communities, and I've seen that many communities in Kenya, say before the coming of the white man, they had, elaborate sex education. And for some reason, we still have a bit of it in our societies, in schools and in churches and so on, but it is usually there's a way about it that maybe when you look at it, you may see that we need to add a further conversation here, add another point here and there. So we are here tonight to discuss that. We are here to discuss what is sex education, what should it constitute, what ages would be the best to start introducing sex education to kids, and even further, some of the sex education that some of us and the modern adults in our society lack. So that is what we shall be discussing. And just before we get into the meeting, I thought it would be good for us to introduce ourselves. Maybe you can say your name. If you're not comfortable sharing your name, you could say your nickname. Tell us how your day was and any form of sexual education maybe you had from your guardians. Now, to start with, I'm going to begin. My name, as I've said earlier, is Karogo Kyugo. I've had a good day. Just a little bit of meetings here and there. And the education that I personally got is when I think I was around probably 10 or 11 of years of age. That was the first time I remember my father telling me not, to watch pornography. And when I got a little bit older, he told me now to use protection. And a little bit older there, but still I was in my teenage, probably 17, 18. I remember him telling me that should I ever get a child, I should not get rid of that child. I should, bring the child home. They are going to raise that child. But that was pretty much for me. So somebody else, and nitaenda tu hapa hivi na line. I had chosen Chillwave earlier. Chillwave, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm still with you.
So you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sawa. So send some of those chill waves to us here.
All right. Chillwave. My day was all right. In terms of the sex education I think most of it came from school. I believe I was in standard 4. I was about maybe 9 or 10 years old.
Okay, would you mind maybe getting closer to your gadget? Kuna vile hatukusikii vizuri.
And now,
Okay.
yeah. So I was about 9 or 10 years old when I was in standard 4, and they started teaching us like about mainly STIs. So
Nice.
STIs and AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they also taught us like about puberty, like the changes that it was from class 4 up until class 8. So they taught us like the changes that
Mm-hmm.
boys go through and the changes that girls go through. And
Mm-hmm.
then I think at some stage we watched a film on STIs. I think it was called Silent Epidemic. It was a very disgusting film. It showed like genitals of men and women who had STIs and they had gone untreated. Hey, that thing was horrible. It's a very old documentary.
Okay.
In terms of my
Do you remember some
parents,
of the STIs that were shown on the video?
yeah, I think they mainly talked about gonorrhea,
Okay.
chlamydia, and syphilis. I think those were
Mm-hmm.
and was it cancroid or something like that? Where you
Mm-hmm.
get cancer or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
Nice.
in terms of my parents, there was
Yes.
virtually no education. I think one time my mom just asked me, like, do you know what happens when people have sex? And I was like, yes. Then she's like, okay. And then
How
that was,
old were you? How old were you then?
I think maybe I was like 13 or something like that.
Oh, okay,
So,
nice. Uh-huh.
so yeah, that was it. She just
That was
asked,
it.
I said, okay. And that was it. My dad has never mentioned anything like that. So
Okay.
all these other things I had to figure out myself, all these things like how to wear a condom,
Yeah.
how to masturbate and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and having sex with a girl. Yeah, I had to
Man.
figure out all those things on my own.
Yeah, which is quite funny because ideally sex education should be to improve your understanding and your ability to participate in that endeavor. Yet it teaches us nothing about that. Eh?
Yeah,
Very nice. Thank you for sharing.
welcome.
Sawa. Then we have Beatrice Obonyo. Beatrice Obonyo, can you hear me? Beatrice, are you with us? Okay, it appears
No,
Beatrice is not with us.
excuse, we can just do this. Those who are raising their hand,
Yes.
you just point them because some people may are willing to keep quiet to listen.
Okay, it's all right. It's all right. By the way, please, for anybody who is present, do not feel pressured at all to talk. It is good enough that you're in the meeting with us. So I see El Maestro, your hand is up. El Maestro, I see that your hand is up. Can you hear me? Okay.
Karugu, my
Yes.
hand was up before El Maestro's.
All right, Dorcas. Ladies first.
No, not ladies first. The hand first.
Okay,
Yeah.
hand first.
Exactly. I have a strong
Dorcas,
sense
so
of
share with us your name, although I've already mentioned it, how your day
sense of
was and
fairness.
any sex education that you got.
Okay. Once again, my name is Dorcas. I am joining you from Thika Road. I had a productive day. I think for a Saturday, Saturdays are meant to be half days. So I had a productive day. I think, there's there's something good that came out of it. Now, in terms of sex education and how my experience was, gosh, do you mind not responding every time? I'm getting distracted when you say I'm getting distracted.
Forgive me, it has become second nature. Okay, just continue.
Yes, allow me to just give my response, because I'm thinking you're saying something, it's just a response. It's just a crutch. Okay. So in terms of my sex education, I think the earliest, there you go. Please mute yourself. Please mute yourself so that I don't get. Yeah. I think the earliest I remember was when I was in class 3. They called us. They spoke to us about various aspects of our bodies. And then I remember they asked the attendees whether somebody had ever had sex. We were separated by sex. Boys were placed in another room and they listened to a different teacher, a male teacher, while the girls were talked to by girls. So they asked us whether some people had sex. It was a very, welcoming environment. So some girls opened up, and some of them even revealed that it was with a relative, an older male relative, some uncle or something like that. And I remember the teacher saying how inappropriate that was. That was bad manners. Those uncles or stepdads were doing the wrong thing.
Would you mind me asking at what ages these people what ages they were in?
Okay, those ones were in upper primary, probably class 7 or class 8. Yeah, they were the bigger girls. But I still remember it to date, even though I think I was 9 years or 8 years old. Then the next thing, of course, we had some talks in home science class and in CRE, ironically, CRE, home science, and science class. They talked to us about the male and female anatomy, reproductive health, or not really health, but how reproduction happens. They never told us about the repercussions, etc. They never really overemphasized it. Then in CRE, it was brought up, and the main message was abstain, 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 abstain. That was the only gospel sung. Still in primary, I remember when I got my period, I didn't know how to tell my mom that now I need money for pads, because we had that hierarchical relationship. She was an old school mom. So I think it was so hard for me to broach the subject that I actually intentionally stained my dress and passed in front of her so that she could see, Dorcas has reached that stage. It's that time of the month. So when she saw that, she's like, hey, Dorcas, don't go outside. You need to change your dress. And then she's like, okay, and we need now to have a conversation. Imagine, I preempted it. So she's like, okay, now that you have started your periods, you can get pregnant, and this is going to be very serious. I never, ever, ever, ever want you to get pregnant. If you get pregnant, find another house. She instilled fear in me. Yeah. And that was it. No boys, don't talk to boys at all in any way, shape, or form. I also watched some of that stuff Chilwe was talking about. I think it was a common approach. They used fear tactics where they get the worst reproductive illnesses, sexually transmitted diseases or illnesses, and they terrified us from engaging in sex. For me, actually, the fear worked because there were boys that would come my way. Okay, I know I've talked too much. Last statement. There were boys that would come my way in primary, and I would reject. Like I would go to first base, if you know what first base is, or second base, but never third base. Like they would try to persuade me, let's do it, let's go all the way, but I
Well,
would refuse.
maybe just asking for a friend. What are these? What distinguishes these bases?
It is how far from penetration they are. Yeah.
Okay.
So first base is usually kissing with your clothes on. Second base can involve heavy petting, and you might remove clothes from the upper section. And then our third base involves penetrative sex. So I always used to reject penetrative. Even in high school, I rejected because of what my mom told me and those documentaries. I was like, oh, I don't want to get those diseases. So in a nutshell, that's been my experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing, Dorcas. Thank you very much. El Maestro, I see your hand is still up. Are you with us?
Okay, yes.
Please share maybe your name, how your day was, and anything on matters the sex education that you got, as a child.
Yes, I hope you are all doing well. My name is Eston. You can also call me El Maestro. My day was boring and very cold. So, about this topic of sex education, believe me or not, I was never ever given any sex education by my parents or guardian. None whatsoever. And in school, I used to go to a mixed school of boys and girls. Can you imagine when the girls were in Form 4, they used to organize a meeting to only give the girls this sex education, but the boys we were neglected. We are not told we are not given any training, but it was the girls who are constantly called for a meeting and given this this thing, given some advice about this whole thing to do with the sex education. So justice for the boy child. Maybe they didn't give us this sex education, maybe because of we are not the ones who get pregnant or what. I still don't know, but maybe that might be the reason. And as for my parents, they died early, but now for the guardians, the only the only sex education I was given is never bring someone from two certain communities in this house. That's the only thing. Never sign with the person from two certain communities that I won't mention. Yes, that's it.
That was quite funny, El Maestro. Thanks for sharing. Okay, sawa. We have Becky. Becky, are you with us and in a position to share? Okay. Emmanuel Njoroge, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you are audible.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, we
okay.
can.
Okay, John Wanjiro.
I heard as if Emmanuel was about to talk. He can go
Okay.
first.
Okay, Emmanuel, can you hear me? Emmanuel?
I can hear you, but I
Sawa,
haven't
sawa.
the moment.
I
you
actually I didn't hear what you said.
I said that at the moment I don't have something to say.
Okay,
I
sawa
just
sawa. Okay. John Wanjiro?
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Yes, I'm happy to see you. Thank you, Karugu. The reason why I'm here is just because I saw you posting about his meeting, and I decided to join. My day was very busy. I'm working on some research here, and it is driving me insane because the deadline is tomorrow, and I have to finish it. On the topic of the today about sexual education, I think there's a video. I don't know if it's the same documentary. It was called Fire or something close to that. Bush. I don't know. I don't remember the exact title, but it was called Bushfire. It was using fear to deter us from engaging into sexual related endeavors. I think the first time to get information about sex and sexuality in general was during the time of initiation, and could get big boys coming to your cube, and they'll tell you you're supposed to do sex immediately after you heal. It was a quote unquote supposed to clean up the male organ and remove some ash. I can't remember exactly what they were telling me. And that was it. But I think because I've not stayed with my mom for so long, for so long in my life, so I've never gotten anything concerning that until I was in campus when she told me that I should avoid girls. I should avoid girls, and I don't know. And also the statement that you're not supposed to engage with girls from a particular tribes. Especially that point is reinforced back at my home area. Yes, that's me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. Although I had to laugh when you also mentioned that bit about Ash. It reminds me. I also got a bit of that during my initiation. Okay. Morioki, are you with us, and are you in a position to share?
Yeah, thanks. Hi everyone. In fact,
Hello.
I just came from up country, so I'm exhausted, and then what can I say? Yeah, it was a good exhausting day because I've just come from traveling. So what can I say? Yeah, I remember being told by my brother about sex when I was in primary school. Then also in school I was in a Catholic school. So some sisters came, but they were very uncomfortable. They're trying to hide things from us. So they're hiding things. They're telling us, but somehow hiding. I think because they are sisters. And also, I remember being told by my parents, never pick a girl from a club. If you go to a club, don't pick a girl from a nightclub. So thanks.
Thank you very much, Morioki. So as you all have heard, I hope I have not left out anyone. Is there anyone else who wants to share? I don't believe I have left out anyone.
Yes. There's someone's hand that is up.
Oh, okay. Okay. I don't know the name. Please share with us, the host.
What is the question?
Okay, the question: tell us your name, tell us how your day was, and any form of sexual education you got during your formative years.
Okay. My name is Pastor Stano. Yeah, so for me, I was getting some teaching while in primary school about how dangerous from the STI, about the gonorrhea, and the images that we are being shown were very scary, just the way some have mentioned. But for me, because I was totally brainwashed by my family and the society about religion, I I thought sex before marriage is a sin. Even to mention those things is totally wrong. So that is why I grew up until I get married. So I never think about those things until the time I wanted to get a partner when I was around there, that is 30 years around there. So that is the time that I get involved with those things, and also I was able now to mention those things. But before that, I was trained not to engage with such ones about sex. Yeah, that is my experience about my life.
Ah, I hear you, I hear you, I hear you. But as thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. So as you all have had a good number of us, using this maybe even as a statistic, did not get so much information about this very, very huge world of sex, and many people have had to wing it. At least the math that I've gotten here is that at least a couple of you got some scary educational videos where you are shown about the dangers of sex. And usually, and perhaps that is part of the problem with the sex education that we have today, is that even from a young age we are taught to approach sex like as a bad thing. It is dangerous, it is evil, and so on and so forth. And this even comes to the terminology that we use. Like in our high schools and primary era, one word for sex is usually tabia mbaya. Like, huyo msifanye tabia mbaya mkienda holiday, like, and you see, such terminologies shape how we think and view sex, because if you're not like informed properly, then you're going into this world thinking that this is something that is bad. So there's the angle of where sex is good, where sex is beneficial, and so on and so forth, that that we can always discuss. Now, first question now for today is about this topic. What do you think is the best age to have this sex education? And do you maybe think that there are levels to it? Like, yes, there's a certain age where you would want the sex education to begin, but do you also think that maybe at that age there are things that are not supposed to be taught, and perhaps maybe there's another age, like maybe at a later age when you're a little bit older, where other things could be taught? Do you guys have any opinions on that? Chilwave, I see your hand is up. Please share with us.
Yes. So, in terms of what you said, and in terms of what Doc has said earlier, I think it should be in stages, and I think it should be as early as possible, in the sense that children, especially women or girls, but children need to learn about their bodies and their body parts just to avoid predatory behavior. Like, I think my sister was telling me about her kids, that in school they're being taught things like the teachers will ask them, like, they'll tell them, never let someone touch you here or touch you there. And if they do, you should tell like your parents, or you should tell the teachers. So I think giving children that language to say that they've been molested or they've been raped is very important, because children are very innocent.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time when people picture children being molested, they picture the child crying, which happens half the time. But the other half of the time, the child doesn't even know what's going on, or they just enjoy it because they're unaware that they're being taken advantage of. Like, someone in some other group shared a video of, there's this, like, I think it was a house help or something, that was kissing this boy who was like 3 years old, like making out with them. Can't remember which group it was, but anyway, yeah. So I think that's the first level of sexual education. That's the most important. So maybe class 2, 3, class 1, 2, and 3, they need to be taught that. And then the next level is teaching them about like how the body functions and, you know, changes and puberty and all of that. And I think after that, the next level should be teaching them now, once they're teenagers, about things like contraceptives, about how to wear condoms, and even things like masturbation, and even how to have sex, and things like consent, communication, you know, the psychological aspects of sex education. So those are some of the things that we were never taught. And, you know, even things like pornography and self-exploration. And I think another thing that we have never been taught, like not even in uni or anything like that, we've never been taught anything about sexual orientation, right? So being taught that some people are gay or some people are asexual. I think I was like in uni, when like I was like a 20-year-old person when I learned the terminology asexual, and that was from watching a cartoon. There was a cartoon called BoJack Horseman, and one of the characters was asexual. So asexual people are those who they don't desire sex and they're just that way. But you can be asexual but not necessarily aromantic. So there are some people who don't want sex but still want romance, and there are some people that want neither. And there are demisexuals as well, so people who don't have, it's very hard for them to have sex with someone, but they still enjoy it. So yeah, all these things were never taught, or even like about transgender people and all of that, and gender dysphoria. I think I didn't know the difference between a transsexual, a transvestite, or any of that. I wasn't sure whether a trans woman is someone who is a man who changes into a woman, or a woman who changes into a man. I learned all of that like in 2017. So yeah, we were taught none of these things. And I think that's still part of sex education. So I think majority of it should be taught by the time someone is a teenager. Because, you know, in that 13, the reality is that's when people are starting to explore their sexuality and start having sexual relationships. So I think they need to be prepared. And it shouldn't just be the schools, it should also be the parents getting involved. Yeah, I think I've used up all my time, so I'll let others talk.
Thank you. That was very insightful, Chilwave. Thank you for that. Thank you for those insights. Dorcas Soita, just on the same wavelength, please share anything on where you think sex education should begin. You know, maybe at what stages, maybe whether there should be stages, and maybe what should be taught, you know, at these different stages.
All right. I think, first of all, before I even respond to that question, I wanted to comment on what El Maestro spoke about, because he reminded me about my past. I actually now realize that no one talked to the boys. Actually, it was just the girls that were called into the hall, into the main hall, and then the boys were told to go and play football. So the girls were busy talking and doing what, while the boys were just out there having fun. I remember vividly watching them in the field playing ball. So there was that assumption that sex education only needed to target one gender because it's one gender that carries a pregnancy, but they had overlooked the entire equation. She does not make herself pregnant. It's not effective if you just speak to one gender. So I had to highlight that. But that was during my time. I don't know now what they do, because I grew up in the 90s and 2000s, early 2000s. So I don't know whether they have updated that approach. Now, on the age at which sex education should begin, I pretty much echo Chilwell's sentiments. I think he gave a very comprehensive answer. Let me just add something small. I think when you start talking to them in their teen years, it's too late. It's too late for any potential harm to have come to them. I think you should start very early, as soon as they are able to talk, and they can comprehend. Start then, but make it age appropriate, of course. Tell them that this is a private party. I remember watching a video from, I think, South Africa, where they were teaching this kindergarten or lower primary level kids where their private parts were. And they would touch them, their boobs, their bum, and the crotch. They were told that is your private part. No one should touch that private part. Only your family when you are bathing, when they are washing you. But otherwise, nobody should touch those private parts. So as early as that, they need to be aware of what is good touch and what is bad touch. Then, as they continue to approach puberty, because puberty is where the game changes and where they can actually face consequences of reproduction. We are not saying that when they are younger, they will not be vulnerable, because they can be vulnerable to abuse or sexually transmitted diseases before puberty. But after puberty, on top of those risks, there's also the issue of unplanned pregnancy. So even before puberty, you need to have those conversations surrounding the risks around sex, but you also shouldn't over-focus on just the risks. As we said, we need to stop demonizing sex. Like that attitude kind of creates trauma in people, and it affects their ability to form healthy relationships in adulthood. So we shouldn't demonize sex. We should, in an objective way, tell them that it is through this route that we are able to create life. If we want to, we create life through this method. So I think you need to balance it. That is before puberty. Then now after puberty, you need to go full throttle and discuss all those things that Chilwe highlighted. Let me not belabor the point. But yes, it is definitely stage-wise. It should be tempered with the age in which the child belongs, and it should be balanced in that it should cover both the positive and the negative aspects of sexual activity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for those insights as well. Morioki, I see your hand is up. Please share with us.
Thank you. I'll just say 13 years old is the best. When they get 13 years old, that's the best age. My opinion. Thanks.
Thank you, 13 years. John Wanjiro, I see you've commented that you think it's the force behind anticipation anxiety when sex is involved. Would you mind maybe expounding a little bit more on that, ndio tukuelewe vizuri?
Okay. Thank you. So the point I'm trying to reinforce is the fear behind the fear that is used in educating about sexual matters is maybe one of the forces that maybe causes people to have some anxiety when sex is involved. For years you've been indoctrinated that sex is bad, sex should not happen. then you happen to be in need to want to do sex, and then that whole thing crumbles all at once, and you start to feel anxious about if you'd be able to perform as you would expect to. Yeah.
Very true, very true. Thank you very much. I see no other hand is up. So the other question I'd like us maybe to discuss a little bit, like whose responsibility, guys, do you think it is to give sex education? And maybe as we contribute to this conversation, I would like us even to introspect and think whether we've participated in any way, because some of us are parents, some of us are teachers, and we also have siblings, and we also have maybe children in our neighborhoods, and cousins and nephews and nieces. Like whose role is it first to give this sex education? Is it the school? Is it just your parents? Is it your church? And so on and so forth. And like, have we personally, participated in that? If you do not mind sharing, please, maybe you can share with us maybe a lesson, maybe some sex education that maybe you ever gave to anyone. We can start with Morioki.
Yeah, thank you. Parents and teachers. Not because siblings are the siblings who are older siblings are maybe have no experience, but parents and teachers are the best. That's what I see. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Becky.
Hi everyone. So I've just
Hello,
gotten you,
hello.
found you continuing. So for me, I think first of all, it's the parents, because kids will always ask their parents. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but kids are very inquisitive and they'll ask their parents, like, Mom, what is this? Dad, what is this? So instead of parents shutting those questions down, like, we ni mtoto, mbona unauliza maswali ya watu wakubwa? I feel like they can change their approach to that. And also in schools as well. But I've seen that coming up in most schools where they're calling, I don't know, during the guidance and counseling sessions, like they call people to talk about these sex issues. But when I was on teaching practice, because I'm a teacher by profession, during one of my lessons, I think we were doing something in literature and the society and community, and I gave the students an opportunity to just write their questions and forward them. And this was, I think, grade 7. And the questions I was getting, because they're anonymous, they're writing them on like the paper. They were asking questions. Some people, even grade 7, they were asking what is sex, because they don't know what sex is. They're just hearing what sex is. And then there was like deep questions about sex, and these kids were saying that no one answers these questions. Even when they ask the parents would answer. And the school, the teachers, to find an actual teacher who will sit down with you, like these old teachers, and sit down with you and educate you about sex is, I don't know, very rare. So I think I tried to answer those questions to my best of my capability. It also got to a point where I had to involve other teachers as well, but we were on practice. So like, I don't want to say the Gen Z phrase, but Gen Zs who are like more comfortable to talk about sex. So yeah, I think the parents should start and then the teachers as well. Yeah.
Karugu, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Nimekuwa nikiongea kumbe I'm muted. Okay, I'm saying I realize we have a new member who has joined us. Welcome, Barman, to this discussion. It is a discussion about sex education, and at the moment we are discussing and sharing our insights on when we think the best age is to begin sex education, and whether it should be in stages. Dorcas, I see your hand is up. Okay. El Maestro, please share with us.
Okay. I was lowering my hand and unmuting. Sorry.
Okay.
I think parents and teachers
Yeah.
are responsible, primarily parents, because as we said, sex education needs to start as early as possible. As soon as children can start talking and discerning things, you need to start. And who is with this child? Who is responsible for this child at that tender age? It is the parent. In fact, who is primarily responsible for raising children? It is parents. So the buck stops with them. If they abscond that duty and leave it up to teachers, sometimes teachers can skip it as well, or teachers can bring their own biases and misconceptions around this issue. So I think it is your prerogative and your responsibility as a parent to educate yourself on how best to educate your children on sex. It's their job. It's your job as the parent. I know it's difficult. It's an uncomfortable conversation. That's why many parents avoid. Like I told you guys, for me, my mom wasn't talking to me about any of that issue. She only had that conversation. She only threatened me that if I ever got pregnant, I would need to find a new house. That was it. Like, oh gosh, she couldn't even imagine that her daughter was going to first or second base. It was a totally different world in which she lived vis-a-vis mine. So I think to confront that elephant in the room as parents, and you need to do it. I personally have taken on that responsibility because for those of you who know me, you know that I've been a guardian to my niece for close to a decade. And I started staying with her when she was 2 years old. And I stopped staying with her. Her mother resumed her responsibility as a parent when she was just joining, or she had settled into high school. So I spoke with her about sex education. I think I didn't do such a good job then because I still had those hang-ups of religion. And we have to mention this elephant in the room. Religion tends to promote a one-dimensional approach to sex education, and religion tends to demonize sex. So they're the ones that push for abstinence-only sex education. Unfortunately, research shows that abstinence-only sex education is not effective. You need to couple it with other aspects of sex education, like contraception, like consent, etc. Those also need to be included. So I think I had those hang-ups, so I didn't do such a good job. I just echoed my mom's sentiments, and but I was open to the idea that my niece could be dating boys, not girls. At that time, I was very homophobic. Nowadays, I'm a gay. Somebody, it's their life. Like, why should I interfere? So at this point, if my niece was to come to me and tell me she's gay, I'd be very okay. But at that time, it was a no-no. So I was open to the idea that she could be dating boys. And kumbe she was actually. She revealed this information to me this year. We were having lunch and she told me she used to have a boyfriend in primary. in primary school. She was in a boarding school. She even got the boyfriend to join the boarding section so that they can see each other after class. Yeah, so I didn't do such a good job then. If I had an opportunity to redo the sex talk with her, I would start earlier, first of all, and I would make it more balanced. I would be more sex positive about it. And yeah, I would try and make it as holistic as possible. Talk about
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Sawa.
Thank you, Dorcas. Black Messiah and Muma Mudeo, welcome to the meeting. El Maestro, the chance is yours now. El Maestro, I see your hand is up. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. So I think I agree with the people who say it should be this sexual education. The age should be as early as possible. Because for me, I remember the the first time I ever felt something like having an urge of having sex with a girl. It was as early as when I was in class 5, when I was 11 years old, in class 5. And you know, this girl, she was the prefect of our class. So I know she had the key. She had the key of the class. So she was the one who came to class, arrived the earliest to the class, and she left the last. So I there's one day I just timed her. I remained. All others have already gone home, and now it was only me and I in class. I I thought of doing. I thought of just doing something, but I just took her hand. When I was now going home, now she now wants to close the door to go home. When I was now getting her to tell her goodbye, and then I kissed her hand. She was so mad. We're like, what are you doing? Uh, I mean, she's just a kiss. I'm lucky she never went to the teachers. I'm lucky she never went to the teachers because she. But now she told the other classmates, and you know the other classmates, they came to me and told me it is bad manners. Just a kiss, bad manners. And I was like,
I imagine you are embarrassed.
Kwani these people haven't they ever heard of that sexual urge before, even if they are still young? And I said, it's okay one day. But now this wedding refused to go away, and I from there on I started having some wet dreams about this same girl, this prefect of ours. Oh, okay. So, but you know, there's no way I would go forward and have sex with her, because it would have brought another big case that you know, my parents they would flog me very badly if I'll be caught in such a mess. So that's just that fear drew me away. But now I imagine, you know, in the villages where in families where parents are not that hard on their children, or even if it was the girl also feels the same way. So they'll have sex. Yeah. Even at such a tender age, they'll do. If now, let's say if it was me and this girl also felt the same way, we will have planned and gone somewhere and had sex without our parents ever noticing. So it should be as early as possible. And the second thing is, yes, you talked about, it is the parents and not the teachers who should be doing this sex education. It is true. It should be the parents, because you know, teachers, I know teachers, maybe some may neglect, but now, you know, some may even take advantage of the learners. they might take advantage of your children because teachers are not angels. They're the same as pastors. Pastors are not angels. They can take the same way pastors take advantage of the flock. It's the same way some teachers take advantage of their learners or their pupils. So it will be the parent, not the teacher. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for those for that sharing. It sounds like you are into powerful women, going for the prefect. Very nice. I imagine it was very embarrassing for a period there after that failed attempt at romance.
Man,
But it's good to hear
it was embarrassing,
you
but
had
me,
the
I
aspect
said
of romantic
fuck.
in you since back then. Okay. Our host, please feel free to share. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can hear you. So for me about the education, I see a child when reach 10 years, from 10 years, because below that, I don't think we will understand anything. And it is below 10 years, we tell them not to expose their naked and not to allow anyone to touch them in the private part. But after 10 years, we can now teach him or her about sex, the danger of sex, and how to be responsible in the future. So, and about who should teach the child, for me, I think it's very tricky for a parent to teach his or her child. I think that responsibility should be given to the teacher or to maybe to a counselors who have been hired to come and teach the children about the sex education, which should be above 10 years, but not below 10 years. But for a parent, it's very difficult to expose what you have been doing in bedroom with your partner. Because the moment you tell them, they will be eager or ask you such questions. But when they are being taught by the teacher or by a counselor, they will scared to ask their mother or their father what they are doing in the bedroom. Even when they knew about it, they will be very ashamed to ask those questions. But if you are the one directly teaching them, they will also ask you about those things. So I don't think it's right for a parent to teach the child unless the child is now around 16 to 18 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it is almost agreed that some of the best ages to start sex education is, when they are young, in their early teenage years. Because what I want us to discuss briefly is also like teenage pregnancies. I would like maybe to hear your insights about why you think they occur. And, although maybe we have mentioned it, maybe what we can do to avoid them or to minimize them in our societies. And maybe after that, now we shall get into our different discussion. Any ideas about what we can do about teenage pregnancies? Yes, Morioki, please share with us.
Thanks. Abstinence. Only abstinence. That's the only solution. Thanks.
Kabisa. Is it abstinence till marriage till after teenagehood?
Yeah, maybe when you mature enough, when you leave school, maybe finish college or something. When you're an adult, When you're an adult, go and do it. But a teenager, hell no. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing. Chilwave?
Yeah, I think it was about 23 when I learned about IUDs, and I think I would get one for my daughter as soon as it's possible. So I think that would be the best way. Because, okay, for those of you who don't know, like an IUD is a device that they insert into the woman that stays there, that prevents sperm from reaching the womb. And it's more effective than a condom. Because the thing is, a lot of men tend to pressure women into having sex without a condom. Like sometimes they just forget to bring a condom, or other times they deliberately ask women, like the girl is like, wear a condom, then she's like, the guy's like, oh no, I can't come with a condom, or the rubber, I have allergies. So yeah, a lot of women are pressured because it's also like men are stronger than women, so the women find it a bit difficult to hold their ground against the men. So you might find that even if your daughter doesn't want to get pregnant, she told the guy to wear a condom, but he really insisted. Like, it's not exactly rape, but like they're in a relationship, but he was really insistent. Like, it's borderline rape, basically what I'm talking about. And I think it's very common. So that's why I would advise the best way to prevent teenage pregnancies, for me, I think it would be IUDs or maybe birth control pills. Though I imagine the pills are more expensive long term. I don't know. I don't know what the price of an IUD versus birth control pills is, but I think women need to be empowered to take the birth control into their own hands. Because men are dogs. So I'm not saying all men are that way, but it's a real threat that women have to deal with on a daily basis.
Thank you. Yes, and yes, truly, men can be dogs. Okay. That is also very important. But then I think a lot of the sex education that sometimes is in school does not, engage actively in discussing, things like the IUD, things like the implants. And so you find that out here, these men and some of these ladies, one of the major protections they are using is, what they call the pull-out game, which is, successful some of the times, but it can very well backfire. And also some of them, try around to do it on the day where a chick cannot get pregnant, but some that can backfire as well. So yeah, thank you for that. We have Dorcas, please share, and let us all try about 3 minutes. I see our time is running.
First of all, I disagree with some of the perspectives shared, like Morioki's approach is abstinence only. Unfortunately, the abstinence only approach does not work. We are critical thinkers. We are not bogged by religious dogma. Us guys, we need to go where the research shows, not to cloud our judgment with that artificial demonizing of sex. Because we have been using abstinence-only methods in Kenya. Yet, our teenage pregnancy rates are significantly high. We have, right now it's 15%. Like 2 years ago, it was something like 23. It was something like 23%. And in certain portions of the country, it is very high, like Samburu and West Pokot. Samburu has 50% teenage pregnancy rates. Why? Because of cultural practices where they engage in early marriage and polygamy. So these old men come and take up young girls as wives. They stop going to school and they get pregnant. So there's a cultural element. There's also an economic element. If a family is poor, they give off their daughter to get married early so that they can get dowry and improve their economic status. So we have to address those aspects as well. Then in places like Kilifi, Malindi, there's the issue of a lack of sensitivity, lack of access to contraceptives, and also lack of education. That's what leads to the high rates of teenage pregnancy there. Now, when you contrast this to other countries that have successfully overcome teenage pregnancy, their teenage pregnancy rates are close to 1%. They include Nordic countries. I think, was it Finland or Sweden? One of the two has a very low teenage pregnancy rates compared to us who are using abstinence only. Them, they use comprehensive sexual education to overcome that challenge. And it has worked. So we need to go where the evidence leads, not where our feelings go, where we feel sex is just bad. No, these teenagers will engage in sex, whether you forbid them from doing it or not. So accept reality and prevent the pregnancy. The problem is not teenagers having sex, because they will have it. Imagine, hormones are raging, they will have it. The problem is them getting pregnant. So let's focus on the issue. Let's prevent the bad thing. Let's prevent the pregnancy. We can equip them with contraceptives, with knowledge about how people fall pregnant, and we can allow them to make that decision. I think let's unshackle ourselves from that idea that these teens can all be living celibate lives. It's unrealistic, and it's the reason why we have such high pregnancy rates. Let's go the Nordic, Scandinavian way and be more open-minded. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. Muriuki, I see your hand is up. Maybe you can have an opportunity to respond to that.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. Abstinence doesn't have to be based on religion. You can tell a child to abstain due to the risks and the dangers, not God, not Jesus. Just telling them to abstain because of the facts, not religion. Thanks.
Yes, Morioki, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying abstinence only is bad because it comes from religion. I'm saying it's a problem because it doesn't work. You are denying reality. It doesn't work. Teenagers still get pregnant. Ram in their heads.
Okay.
Don't.
Maybe, doctors, maybe we can try a scientific view of abstinence using science, the risks and the dangers. How about that? Using science this time.
Well, let us first continue the discussion. We'll, rather than it be a back and forth between two individuals. Our host, I see your hand is up.
So I have one question about what is the difference between the past and the today, nowadays? Because in the past, we could not have those high number of pregnancy of the teenage, but today we have. Does that mean is the technology that is causing the children to be aware about the sex very early, and then it motivates them to engage in sex, or what is happening? And about the prevention, I think to abstain is one of the methods, but because we have find it does not work, it will only work around 90%. The 10% that remain for those who are not able to abstain, or they find themselves in a certain situation that they cannot be able to resist their body. That is why we also need the contraceptive pills that will help those people not to get pregnancy or not to get some diseases. So we need to have some as criteria that will prevent the pregnancy and disease for those who will be unable to abstain or for such accidents.
Thank you for sharing. I want to rush these things because there are a few things we need to discuss, and maybe one other thing that I want us to discuss is consent. Should it? How often do you think, guys, the issue of consent is brought up in sex education classes in the country? How important it is, and what does like consent entail? Like for example, let's say you're having an evening of drinks and you're both drunk. Of course, now this is now for adults, of course. If a girl says yes, and when you're both drunk, does that constitute as consent? Because it gets into the issue of rape, and it's quite a pertinent issue in today's society. And of course, feel free to, if you're not in a position maybe to share your voice out loud, feel free to continue with the discussion in the chat. I see, for example, John is saying it's important to see the behaviors from a conscious primate. Due to pair bonding among Homo sapiens, sex has evolved to be an activity of enjoyment and bonding. In other primates, sex is only for reproduction, but it's so different from us. Yes, that's a very good point, by the way. And but then on the matter of abstinence, just as Dorcas said, and as he's saying, sometimes abstinence can work, but more often than not, it doesn't work for every person, because the forbidden fruit is always the sweetest. Like when you're told not to do something, your desire to do it just increases. I remember, like, there was a time I visited Fort Jesus, and I'm walking through the halls, and then I see a 17th century chair, Persian chair. Now, as a fan of the ancient Persian kingdom, I was like, now are you guys telling me do not touch? I did exactly that. I went and sat on it because there was that label. Maybe if it wasn't there, I wouldn't have thought about it. But the point is, sometimes when you're not told to do something, it doesn't always work. And, especially as a teen, when you get past 15, the opportunities are there, and so on and so forth. And so abstinence is one thing that we should not just emphasize on, in my opinion, when it comes to sex education. And John Wanjiru has brought a very important point here about, remembering that we are animals. We are just apes who realized, who became conscious. And even among the apes, you realize that sex is not just for recreation, for procreation. It is also for for recreation. Like if you study the bonobos, for example, there are very interesting species of monkeys, because among them, first of all, they are matrilineal. They are very matriarchal. The women are the ones who have like more testosterone and so on. They are the ones who are more in charge. The female species that is more testosterone is a hyena species, where the ladies are the ones who are in charge, and so on and so forth. But even among the bonobos, they normally have like frequent sex. Like if gangs of bonobo monkeys meet up with each other and they're about to fight, you'll realize they suddenly have to, they suddenly start having sex and so on. So the point is, we are also primates, and sex is very primal to who we are. And just telling the individual to abstain can be a little bit tricky. So yes, okay, so please, Chillwave, share with us.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Hello, Chillwave, can you hear me?
Yes, I was saying, could you repeat the question?
Oh, yeah, so we are discussing rape. You can share something about why you think it occurs in today's society. The rape, for adults, and also statutory rape, where it is with someone who is younger, and how the role consent plays in that discussion.
Oh yeah.
I may, and you also say about the drunkard people.
Drunkard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was actually a poster made by a university, and they got a lot of backlash for it, where they had said that a girl and a boy were drunk, or rather, a man and a woman, they were both of age. They were both drunk, and they had sex, and so the guy got arrested for rape or something. Like, I don't think he got arrested, but basically the poster said that the guy has committed rape. So there was backlash because people are saying, if both of them are drunk, then why is it only one of them can't give consent? Who says that the man is capable of giving consent? So I think the law should equally apply to both people. If both of you are drunk, you can't blame the man because, well, if you're blaming the man, it's only if, let's say, he's making a move and she's refusing. But if they both have sex while drunk and consent, then you can't blame either party, right? You can only blame one party if one of them is sober, or if one of them is making a move and the other one is rejecting it. So I think that's my view. But another thing I also see happening a lot in the media is sometimes women withdraw consent after sex. And to me, I think that's kind of BS. Like, oh, she says yes, and then 2 years later, she decides that it's rape. And I'm like, okay, now how you want the guy to turn back time? like what is he supposed to do? So I think if you're going to withhold consent, it should definitely be before sex. So yeah, I think those are my perspectives.
Okay, very nice, very nice. And as also as we keep sharing, how would you say maybe the idea of asking for consent maybe affects like a romantic moment? You're there, the candles are on, the music is on, and now you have to ask, are you okay with this, and so on. So Dorcas, your turn is to share.
I'm sorry, I logged out of the meeting accidentally. Kindly remind me what question we are answering.
Oh, we are discussing rape and consent. What causes rape in the society, because we hear these cases every now and then, and like what role consent plays in that.
Okay. Well, those are heavy. Those are heavy questions. I don't even know if I can do them justice in 3 minutes, but I'll try. A rape, I remember we had this discussion in a Zoom meeting where it was labeled sexual assault, SA, because of YouTube rules. But rape occurs because of a culture of normalizing the lack of consent. It is ingrained in those perpetrators that you don't respect another person's body, so you can do with them as you please, especially if they quote unquote lead you on by wearing something provocative or by being super friendly to you, which is really erroneous and inaccurate. But that culture of the lack of consent, of not upholding the principle, is what leads to rape. So I think sex education can go a long way in eliminating that. I also think what Chilbe was talking about is paramount. There's a rugby player who was in the news some time back, and he had engaged in a threesome with a female. The mother to the female caught them, and she made the girl feel guilty. So the girl claimed that she had been raped, yet it was consensual. And she had wanted it. It's something that she had wanted. So it was a bit complicated. It brought out that issue of consent, and I don't favor the ruling because the ruling demonized the man, yet they both got into it. So I think it's important for consent not to be lopsided, but also we need to teach everyone, including boys, that consent should be enthusiastic. Sometimes somebody might not vocalize it, but their body language will say so. If somebody is repulsive, like, they don't want to, or eventually they say it, then you need to respect it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we've pretty much discussed a lot of bits of the sex education. I wanted us to get to another angle of sex ed, where you see mostly even in this conversation we've been discussing the negative bits of it. I would like us to focus a little bit for the rest of the conversation on the positive sides. And usually when I have these discussions with people, I normally like to emphasize that as a society during sex education, we are taught so much about STDs and rarely about STBs. And STBs is just like sexually transmitted blessings, with the insinuation that there are good things about sex that exist, that people reap. There are good things people reap from engaging in sexual activities. And I would like us maybe to share with each other what are some of these things and what contributes to like a positive sexual experience. What are some of the things like adults, now this is now of course sexual education for adults, what are some of these things that adults can engage in and do so that they have like satisfying sexual experiences? And just maybe before we get into that, maybe another angle of sex education that we have not maybe mentioned is the use of toys, but I'm sure maybe it may come up in this conversation. So feel free to share what are some of the things that we can do, and what are some of the things that people can be taught that can lead to satisfying sexual experiences, because that should also be part of sex education. Because rather than just sell fear, it's going to lead you to hell, you're going to burn for a very long time for this and that and that. And it is also, I think, important to introduce an angle of the benefits of sex during these sex educational classes and seminars, so that people approach it with a certain respect and love for it. So any ideas about that? I see a comment here by Mumo Mudeo. Maybe let me just read it. Sex education should be done as early as possible. I'd say start on teaching a child no one should touch their private parts, yes, and as well as teaching good and bad touch. I'm saying this because defilement among newborns 8 to 9 years is on the rise. We underestimate kids. They really do understand sex education if explained at their level. Mumo, thank you for sharing that. That is very important. And by the way, these cases of where older people defile younger children usually leaves sexual trauma within the child, and that sexual trauma can definitely plays a part in the understanding and the making sense of sex that the child will have as they grow up, and it can contribute to the sexual behaviors that they will engage in the future. So yes, it is very important to teach kids that. And by the way, it is also by the way important, just here we are all adults, it is also important not to take these children seriously when they come up with some of these issues, because you may find them, and if you do not, somebody close to you will share with you, maybe somebody did this to their kid. And it is very, very important, guys, to like be empowered enough to stand up for those children. Like I recently was talking with someone who was sharing with me how she's still like bitter with her mother because something of a similar nature happened to her when she was a child, and the mother did not stand up for her. Like she was told, oh, she's making up stories, she's doing what, and that left a very negative impact. Aha, I see here Chilwave is sharing some ideas here that since we are talking about sex ed, we need to normalize threesomes and orgies. I'd like to hear what some of the opinions are from the members participating here. And then Mumo shares that on contraceptives, abstaining has not been really effective. Contraceptives are there, but policies sometimes hinder teenagers getting them, not unless they get pregnant. That's when action is taken, or when a parent decides enough is enough, they'll initiate contraceptives to their kids. So stigma on contraceptives is also an issue in the society. So yeah, so thank you for sharing that. Dorcas, I see your hand is up. Please share with us.
Okay. What are some sexually transmitted benefits, and how can we have better sexual experiences? Let me begin with that last one. I think communication is key. It's essential for you to tell your partner what you prefer, because human beings are very different. We are very unique. One guy might like it when his testicles are tickled or rubbed. Another one will be like, no, what are you doing down there? Please keep off. Or some men might have sensitive nipples. Others are like, no, am I a woman? Don't touch. So you need to find out what tickles your partner's fancy. And that is only possible through communication. Let's not be afraid of talking about this elephant in the room, of expressing ourselves. And I feel like, because if you tell somebody after the fact, after you've already done it, if you give them negative feedback, they'll get defensive. The best time to communicate your preferences is before. Tell them before you guys get intimate, because there's nothing to prove. There's nothing to defend. It won't feel like you're giving them an exam report afterwards. So yeah, communication is essential. Of course, we've talked about consent. I can't stress that enough. There are people who are very kinky. They want to try some BDSM. They want to be dominated. They want whips and chains. But there are others who want to dominate, who want to do the sadism, while there are others who are masochists, who want to receive the pain. So for the dominatrix or the sadists, I think it is very important for you to get consent from that person, because they might not be in that group. They might not like pain, even if that's what gets you off. So the consent is key. I have no issue with people engaging in threesomes or whatever Chilwave posted over there, as long as it's consensual. All the parties involved have consented. Another tip I can give on having a great sexual experience is also self-exploration. I think because of religion, women especially, but even men, are discouraged from self-exploration. Anything that is not sex in a marital context for the purpose of reproduction is demonized. So even masturbation is demonized, because I remember when I was in church, they used to speak ill of it. But it's very useful for you to discover what turns you on. Once you discover it, then you can express it to your sexual partner and have a better experience. So you on, how do you expect him to get you there? He's not an angel. Yeah. And this is the reason why there's an orgasm gap between men and women, because there are many women who have not found out what works for them. So Those are some suggestions I would give. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Soita. Those are very insightful. Thank you for sharing that. True. Many people have not, explored themselves, sexually to know what they want, to know how they can get it. And as you have said, even masturbation is frowned upon. Me personally, I remember hearing somewhere that, like, if you masturbate, you are going to become blind. And many other rumors that you hear out there. So true. Exploring yourself and knowing what works for you, where you like to be touched, and so on and so forth, can actually help to contribute to a positive, satisfying sexual experience. Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts? I should not presume you are all virgins here. Ama hujapitia site fulani mahali or had something, whether on a TED Talk or something. Yes, Daiku, welcome to the meeting first and karibu sana. Please share with us.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Good evening.
Okay, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Fred, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Fred, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, you can share.
Okay, I'm saying that I like the aspect of exploration, but again, I also think that in as much as we are talking about self-exploration, I think it's very different when you are with a partner, because at some point, it's not only where you want to be touched. Sometimes it's about just the chemistry, how you want to be, what you want to be whispered to you, and you can't necessarily whisper to yourself. That's a thing. And there is also another, like, for example, when most people don't, it's not easy for you to tickle yourself, but you can be tickled by another person, and it happens. So I really think the aspect of, if we just drop all morality and drop the guard when you are doing it, I think it brings the fun in it, because at some point you'll find a person who is, I don't know whether it's fear to be judged or something, but if you don't explore it as with your partner, it becomes very complex to explore yourself. Okay, let's say, for example, let's give an example of a man. Assuming you are a man, I'm not so sure. I will not speak for the ladies, but for a man, what much can you do while masturbating? I mean, I can just think of just a few things that you can probably try, but it will definitely change much when you are with a partner. And I feel like you just have to be naughty. If you go with someone who is naughty and you are trying to explore together, you might even realize that what works for you with one person doesn't work for you with another person. Yeah, that's my view.
Thank you very much, Fred. And of course, that is very true. You cannot, of course, do that dirty talk alone. That would definitely require another party. And as you say, the chemistry is also key. So maybe what if chemistry is key then to a satisfying sexual experience? What is it an individual can do to maybe maximize the amount of chemistry they can have with another individual? Any thoughts on that? Naona hapa hivi somebody is trying to be funny. Bible discussion and study meeting, BDSM, okay. And then Mumo shares, I think building up to the moment you're going to have sex is also important. Testing your partner while building tension. Very nice. Being present during sex is also important. Don't be inside your head. Be in the moment and don't overthink it. Thank you for sharing that, by the Mumo, because it reminds me that we forget, and so maybe something that should be also introduced in sex education classes is that sex itself occurs in stages, and being cognizant of that can help you maximize your experience. And now Mumo has mentioned there the first stage. The first stage is usually excitement. You know, that sexual build-up where you are, excited to have sex and so on and so forth. You know, it can include flirting, by the way. By the way, flirting is also a part of sex, and it is a key part of it. So, the excitement phase, includes flirting, foreplay, the penis becoming erect, the swelling of the clitoris. Then there's usually the plateau phase. This is just the phase before orgasm. Where your breathing has intensified, your heart rate has also intensified, and maybe for men, that is when you can usually have what we call pre-cum. Then there's the phase of orgasm where you actually now release. That is if you choose to release. And then we have the final phase, that is the coming down period, just after you've released, where your body relaxes and your genitals, they return to their normal state. So thank you for mentioning that, Mumo, because building up is very key, because it is also in the building up. If there's building up, let's say you guys have been flirting and stuff like that, whispering something into each other's ears and so on, that can, eliminate the need for consent because you are up to it, and it can improve your sexual experiences. Could you still have something to share? I see that your hand is up. Please feel free to share.
Oh, sorry.
Taiku, can you hear me? Okay, sawa. I think you had just left your hand up. So yes, these stages of sex, are important. It's important to also introduce them to the sex education, the sex ed classes that occur, because once you understand them, it can a little bit help you, participate in that endeavor in a more fulfilling manner, not just for yourself, but also for your partner. Now, we are still sharing on the things that can improve sexual experiences, and I would like to hear from you guys. What roles do toys play in this, in this discussion about improving your sexual experiences? Are they necessary? Do they reduce the need for human contact with the toys? Do you think toys are necessary? And maybe what are some of the society's views on toys? And by toys, I mean vibrators, dildos, BDSM kits, and so on and so forth. Does anybody have anything to share on that? Okay. It seems not. But if you are willing, please share in the chat. But okay, Dorcas Soita, your hand is up. Please share with us. Dorcas, you can share with us.
Yes, it's a tough one. No wonder everyone is shy.
Hapa hivi we listen, but we do not judge.
This revolution will be televised. Hey, watu wameogopa.
Hey, jamani, silence treatment hapa.
I tell you. Yes. Now, hey, toys. So I think there's a level to the toys. I believe that if a person uses toys as complementary to the sexual experience, it can actually boost it. But if it becomes a replacement, then that can be a problem. Because I remember there's a guy I dated who told me about his ex. because he used to have an ex with whom they would engage in sex, and they would do everything. They would do the foreplay, what not, foreplay, and then the penetration. And then now him, when he was done, that is, after he had ejaculated, she would excuse herself. She would actually reach out for her toy, excuse herself, and go and finish herself off. You can see how that can threaten the man. Like, it can make him feel inadequate because she requires this apparatus in order to get there. And in fact, one day she even told him, you can't satisfy me. You can't do what the vibrator can do. You see, so that causes jealousy and a lot of negative feelings around the sexual encounter, because the person wasn't, your partner was not involved. It's you and your toy. It's you and your toy. So why am I here? Yeah, the partner was not involved. However, if perhaps they had communicated this information and he was open to it, and he was actually using it on her, maybe that would have altered it. So I think toys, if they become a substitute for partnered sex, it can be a problem. And there are arguments on whether a human being can recreate the emotions that a vibrator can. Of course they can't. They can't. So you must ask yourself, because now this is for the ladies, because the vibrators are usually sold to ladies, but they can also be sold to men to use it the other way for sim too. So you as a lady, you must ask yourself, am I willing to make this a consistent part of my sex life? And am I willing to take on the risk that some partners might not be comfortable with having the vibrator in the bedroom? You know, that's a decision that the vibrator user might need to make. Like, if you go for a toy that cannot be recreated with the human body parts, that's a challenge that you might need to confront, and it could be an obstacle. But then the others that are just, not too problematic, like a dildo, I don't see how that can replace. So, yeah, I'm all over the place when it comes to toys, but to each their own. Everything has its own risks and rewards. It is up to you to decide whether the risks are worth, whether the rewards are worth the risk. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I see a comment here. After consent, shut down your neo context, be in tune with your senses. The dangers of sex toys are the risk for objectification of the sex experience. Maybe in a minute or two, if you do not mind, Wanjiro, what do you mean that the dangers of sex toys are the risk for objectification of the sex experience? Maybe you can time. I see we only have 3 minutes left, and okay, we've not delved into this very deeply, but there are many benefits. First of all, to having sex, it's healing, it's cathartic, it helps you release even emotionally. Sometimes when you have a good experience, sexual experience, you can even find yourself crying because yes.
I can see Taiku's hand is up.
Oh, okay. Let me see. They actually okay. They could please share. I've not seen that.
Okay, on the sex toys thing, I think it's
And
a very
maybe before even you answer Daiku and to any other men in the platform would like to contribute, are you comfortable using a sex toy? Because sometimes I hear that men have some conservative views about that. Anyways, please share.
okay. I think I was even supposed to. I wanted also to address that thing because I'm also trying to think about it this way. Okay, okay. Of course, there are sex toys for men too, and just try to flip it a bit. Just imagine the way you would use, let's say, a sex toy on a woman before sex. Try to flip it a bit, and you're using a female sex toy on a man before it. I think that will be very, very problematic. It might not be problematic for the man, but I think it might mess up the whole thing. And I feel like most people might, well, there are people who are very open to such a thing. And probably I would say I would like to try in one way or the other, but I also know at some point there is an aspect of jealousy that would come in. And for probably when you are talking it, if because when we talk about sex toys, we only view them as ladies' toys. But if you try to think, okay, I'll bring a meme that I once saw. They were saying that masturbating is great because you can always vary the grip. And I'm trying to imagine if you are to do the same thing with sex toy, because you are, let's say, complementing the sex that you're having with your female partner, because probably there's something you're getting from the sex toy that she's not offering, and I'm seeing it might be the most problematic thing that you might be facing. I'm not so sure, but that's my thought.
Thank you. And would you like personally be comfortable maybe buying your female partner a toy?
Short term.
Okay. I hear you. Do we have any other contributions? I see John here is saying you might withdraw the partner and retain the toy. Yeah. By the way, that definitely can happen. And by the way, it is also good to know, and also I think it would be also very important to include sex toys in that sex education bit, because first of all there are different varieties of sex toys, or vibrators, BDSM. Like we even have panty vibrators. It is good to know all these things. So I see our host is telling us, someone told me he do masturbation 30 minutes before having sex with woman so that she may reach organisms. I'm sure he means orgasms. Yeah. By the way, you see, like the crux of the matter here is people are told very little about sex, even especially about how to have sex. Like as a man, like, do you touch a woman? How do you finger a woman? How do you touch? How do you kiss her? Which places do you kiss? Even how to masturbate. People are rarely taught how to masturbate. And which is often the reason why many people find themselves, addicted to it, and even like fear engaging in it, because they're like, once I start doing it, I'll get addicted to it. So personally, I think a lot more should be discussed on the how-tos of sex, how to do all that. And I think that would contribute largely to improving the sexual experiences of people in our society. And you can bet that if a lot more people are having good sexual experiences here, then people would be at a better position to be, peaceful people, happy people, because there's something that is going on well in their lives. You see, as a therapist, I interact with couples and various individuals. And you can always tell an individual or a couple, from hearing about them, about whether they are having, like good, sexual experiences in their lives. And you can tell, this one is most likely having one, this one is most likely not. And you realize that those who have, that chemistry with their partners, and there's good communication, as Dorcas mentioned, and there's understanding of each other, they live slightly happier lives. So so guys, that's it on our discussion today. Yes, so as I finish, I'd like to mention that even for us as ourselves, we should, keep increasing our knowledge on sex. And when we have an opportunity to our siblings, to our little cousins, please let us share. And by the way, I wanted to share personally. There's a book that came across me that did help me on my journey towards understanding, sex and everything matters sex. There's a book that I'll recommend, and if there's anybody here with a book that they can share, or maybe a TED talk or something that somebody can read or watch that can help them improve, their understanding, and maybe even get the terminology that they can use to share with people out there, please share. So for me, there were two books. One was there's a book called She Comes First. That your book ilinisaidia by the sana. You could go through it, and then there was another book called the Sexual Practices of Kodoshka. Now that was Kodoshka is like a Native American type of sexual, it's a Native American sexual discipline. So in the book they analyze the understanding of sex and everything matters sex from an indigenous point of view. And by the way, something else that I would really like to recommend, please go back into your cultures, each and every one of you. We all had very established sexual disciplines in our cultures. I am a Masai Kikuyu. I've looked into the Kikuyu bit of it. For example, among the Kikuyu, there used to be a sexual, a science of sexual education or sexual alchemy that was called Mogoyo. Now, during Mogoyo, people were taught, hizo vitu za sex. There used even to be like dances where people like madem walikuwa wanaenda wakiwa almost fully nude hadi maboy. Like the ladies would twerk on the boys, and like the victor of maybe such a dance would be the man who was able to control his erection the most. There used to be other activities where ladies and men would like be going to a room, and like they would arouse each other, but making sure not maybe to ejaculate and so on and so forth, and many other details. It has like, personally, as a therapist, it has taught me a lot about sex and stuff. And even as an individual and as a man, I have learned a lot from those sexual practices, not just of our culture. I've studied a couple of cultures in Kenya and a couple of other indigenous cultures, and guys, I'm telling you, there's a lot to learn from those ancient, now almost forgotten cultures. So please look into it. I'm seeing a few comments. Should how to handle a partner be taught to men only? I think mostly we assume women are good by default. Yes, that is very, very key, by the way, Daiku. Women it is also very paramount for them to understand the psychology of a man. Yes, sexually, there's not so much to explore about a man. With some oral work there, some hand job, and setting yourself up well for a good penetration. Many ladies think about that, and I've also heard about men complain that during sex, the ladies are just there lying on their backs doing absolutely nothing. So it is also important for women to understand the psychology of a man. And there's this discussion that people have online about love languages. Personally, I do not subscribe fully to that, but there's an idea to that idea there about love languages. What is it that your man loves, anapenda kupikiwa and stuff like that. Those are the things that occur before sex that contribute to that. And John Wanjiro here is mentioning Gueko. Yes. Now, Gueko was part of that ancient Gikuyu sexual classes where people were taught how to, participate in that sexual experience in a satisfying manner. Maybe in another session, somewhere we can discuss some of these things in a more in-depth manner. But as for tonight, guys, I thank you very much for attending. Thank you so much for... Yes, but Dorcas says we have lots of traditional communities that teach women how to pleasure their men. Very true, very true. Very true. Yeah. So I'm saying for tonight, that will be it. Thank you guys so much for attending. Thank you for participating. Thank you for sharing your insights. I hope it has been worth it. Yeah. So I'll end at that point. Dorcas Soita, maybe you can take over.
Asante sana, Karugu. That was a very well moderated session. I did not expect it to end on such a steamy note. Until people shied away, they were now just running to the chats to express themselves. Thank you so much, Karugu. It was his first time to moderate the discussion, but he seemed like such a pro. It was second nature to him. We truly appreciate you volunteering for this position, and we hope you can take up more topics to moderate. I'd also like to thank all the participants, starting with Chilwave, Ex-Pastor, El Maestro. You had very interesting personal experiences. Today, I've learned a thing or two about your childhood and your preferences. Thank you for the new people that have joined us. By the way, you can, if you are invited by Karugo, because he had told me he'd share the flyer in his networks. If you are invited by him, please reach out to him for a link to our open group. If you're not an atheist, we have an open group that welcomes people of all religious persuasions. And we engage in many discussions there. So please reach out to him for the link. If Karugu, you don't have it, you can ask me, then I can send it to you, and you can send it to the people that you have invited. But we are happy to see you, John Wanjiru. We are happy to see you, Mumo and Daiku. I think those ones were new here. It was a delight to hear your perspectives. I'd like to remind the members and even the guests, because we are a very welcoming society, regardless of your persuasion, your religious persuasion. Even though we are predominantly targeting atheists, we're having a physical hangout tomorrow at the Nairobi Safari Walk. All roads lead to Langata Road, Nairobi Safari Park. Please, let's meet at 1 p.m. We are going to eat food together. We're going to do the walk. It's called Nairobi Safari Walk, so we are going to do the walk. And we are also going to have some icebreaker games, things that anybody can play, regardless of your age or your experience. And then we will have a focus topic, and the focus topic is, I am not a stereotype. Let's see where that discussion will go. But it will just be a really nice opportunity to grow our community, to just know people, expand our network. Some of us are looking for job opportunities. You know, somebody might need your services. So let's meet up tomorrow, 1 p.m. on the dot. We'll meet at the gate, and then we'll take it from there. I wish you guys a lovely night.
Okay,
And yes,
maybe let me just say something just a little bit. I didn't mean to say it, but since it did come up. But hey, guys, if you're looking for sex toys, please feel free to reach out. I do sell them within Nairobi.
awesome. Thank you. Amejipea plug hapo. Literally and metaphorically. Thank you for that info. Whoever is interested, please. Karugu is in our open group, the one that is open to anybody of any religious persuasion. We have 2 WhatsApp groups. There's one strictly for atheists, and then there's another one for any religious group. So reach out to Karugu. I think his name is that on the group, Karugu wa someone. I've forgotten the rest, but if you just search
Wakyugo, thank you.
Wakyugo, yes, Karugu Wakyugo. So you can reach out to him. But we truly appreciate. I wish you guys a good night.